What is up guys, Farhan here and welcome back to another ultimate review. This is the review of the Vespa SLX 150. Huge thanks to Unique Motorsports for loaning me this bike for the review. And for info, the Vespa SLX 150 is available at Unique Motorsports. You can get this bike from them. Let's get started with the review. Okay, so let's get started with the riding review of the Vespa SLX 150. Starting up pretty straightforward as if any other automatic scooter. Uses a key as opposed to a transponder. Put the key in the ignition, twist the ignition, brake in, ignition, and off we go. For a Class 2B scooter, for a Vespa, I'm pretty impressed with its capabilities so far. Pretty light, weighing at 115 kg and pretty nimble. Ride height is 77 cm, so for me, not tiptoeing at all. As you can see, my feet is flat on the ground. Pretty nimble, pretty agile, but I would take caution that, you know, while you're negotiating a corner or you're turning with this bike, at high speeds, don't make any sudden movements because you feel as if you're gonna lose control of the bike, but it's not. That's just the riding characteristics of, I think, a bike with a very small wheelbase such as this. And other than that, its handling is pretty awesome. Pretty decent torque also for a Class 2B scooter. Almost similar to the ADV 150 and the PCX, given that they share the same engine. NMAX and Aerox are slightly faster, but I think overall it's pretty decent, more than enough for you to get away from sticky situations. Given that it's a scooter, city traffic, no issues at all, and especially for Vespa, which is meant to like handle city traffic, heavy traffic. Basically, it's a twist and go lah, and not so cumbersome when you're handling it on city traffic behind cars. Lane split, no issue. This bike, the profile is quite small. The SLX 150, the profile is quite small, unlike the GTS 200, which has a slightly larger body. I think it's slightly slimmer than the Vespa LX also. Very close to PX or LX in terms of size. That's my personal opinion. What the heck? Let's go straight right here. Pretty decent acceleration, as you can see, going uphill, no issues at all. The bike doesn't struggle at all. My issue with the SLX is the suspension. You can feel every bump, every road imperfection, every road marking. Now I know usually why, like, Vespa riders, they immediately change out the suspension, even though the bike they'll be using for brand new. I think the suspension is something that Vespa can improve on from the factory, rather than having the owner to actually swap out for O-Lines, for example. You know, drizzling a bit. Hopefully that you guys can see on the GoPro. Hopefully not too much water. Okay, so let's give it a bit of gas. You know, unlike the Primavera or the LX, this Vespa is basically stripped down budget version. From what I've read online, Vespa basically made the SLX and the VLX to compete with premium motorcycles, premium brands. And given the Vespa is a household name, the history and heritage behind the brand and everything, I think marketing wise, they don't need to worry about it, because everybody knows what a Vespa is, which is why they built this bike for developing markets, you know. And I'm being told that it's actually $2,000 cheaper than a mainstream Vespa, like the Primavera or the GTS, for example. But this Indian-made exclusive, which is brought in by Unique Motorsports to bring down the price a little further. And I think in Singapore we could use more cheaper bikes from premium brands with decent quality, you know. Given that our COE prices are very high right now, and with the ARF and everything, Bikes are getting more expensive here, and you can believe that this particular bike I'm riding right now costs 14k. Given the high prices with the COE and the taxes and everything, really ridiculous lah. So it has a 6.5 litre fuel tank with a projected consumption of up to 47 to 59 kilometers per litre. Hopefully by the end of this video I'm able to tell you how much fuel I actually consume per full tank. I'll be almost halfway there. Final mileage before I topped up the bike just now. So one fuel tank you can ride up to 173.3. Accessories wise, there's actually surprisingly a lot of it from Vespa themselves. As third party, there's also a lot, given that this bike is in production since 2016. So you definitely can do a lot of things to make your bike stand out lah. So let's see off the traffic light how the SLX 150 performs. They should be decent lah. Okay, pretty decent lah. Very comparable to the ADV 150 and the PCX in terms of performance. Handling wise, I will reckon that other mainstream scooters such as the NMAX and the PCX and the ADV 150, right off the bat, the handling, there's basically no learning curve. You're able to handle this, you're able to handle the bike perfectly. But for the SLX 150, the Vespa, it takes a bit of getting used to.
Launched and made in 2015 for the domestic Indian market, the Vespa SXL 150 is a retro-inspired scooter by Pagio, Vespa's parent. The SXL 150 shares its platform with the VXL 150 with a few cosmetic differences. It is marketed as a premium scooter for developing markets, going for retro-inspired design with modern features and conveniences with the attractive prices to match. Engine is 150cc air-cooled single-cylinder 4-stroke, 3 valves SOHC with fuel injection and a CVT automatic transmission. So let's start with the Vespa SLX 150's riding position. Pretty straightforward, typical moped scooter position. Very comfortable, arms too stretched out. My legs folded in quite a bit. Sitting like a chair, very upright, doesn't hurt my back at all. But like, all of these scooters, the riding position, you tend to hunch quite a bit after riding for quite some time. So do remember to straighten your back once in a while. And as you can see, my feet is flat on the ground. So I think vertically challenged riders would definitely appreciate the Vespa SLX 150's seat height. Pretty awesome, feeling pretty confident on this bike right now. So let's talk about the general design of the Vespa SLX 150. Generally, the shape, the outlook and the general design is recognizably a Vespa scooter. A mix of retro and modern cues into the general design gives off a look and a vibe that one look instantly you recognize it to be a Vespa. However, there is a unique notable design feature to this bike, which is the rectangular headlamp, as you can see over here. Really a reminiscent of those 70 eras Vespas, namely the PX and the XL. And I think for this particular design is taken from the modern Vespa Sprint S150, which also has a rectangular headlamp design. And not to forget, which is Zaz's bike also, the Vespa XL 150, which also has a rectangular headlamp. I think it's pretty distinctive feature for 80s eras Vespa, and it brought it to the SLX 150. And complementing the headlight design is also the mirrors, which is also rectangular in shape. Really adds to the aesthetics of the SLX 150. And yeah, on top of that, it also has a slimmer profile, unlike the GTS 200 and the 300, which has slightly a wider design. So lane splitting on this really is a dream on this bike. Thanks to its slimmer profile, it's really an awesome lane splitter, almost like you're lane splitting on a cup chai, So let's talk about the gauge cluster, in which it's a combination of analog and digital, in which there's this tiny LCD screen for the odometer, the trip meter, the time, and you can also toggle, with the mode button over here, and the analog display shows the speedometer. Yeah, pretty basic, pretty straightforward. And I think some of the earlier models, in which some of the earlier modern eras Vespas features almost the same the combination digital and analog gauge cluster. Handlebar controls pretty straightforward. Headlight high beam, low beam, signal indicators, starter over here. And yeah, buttons are a unique combination of press and slide, which I don't really like it, and I'm not used to it, I guess. I think Vespa owners should be pretty versed in these buttons, right? Not to forget, open glove box compartments over here with a hook for you to hang stuff. I wish that would include a closed one, and I wouldn't think that it's safe to put anything in here, because if you're going through bumps or at high speeds, the things may fly out from the glove compartments. Do be careful with it lah. I don't think it can fit my cell phone at all. It's quite small, so I think it's for little things like your cash card and all that. So yeah, this is kind of a letdown lah, my personal opinion. So let's talk about the unseat storage on the SLX 150. So unlike the GTS and the Primavera, the lock is not an electronic lock, so there's no button for you over here, in which you hear the mechanical sound, right? It actually uses a key, so the key, put it in here at the seat over here and open it. This is the unseat storage, and my personal opinion is pretty small by today's standards, especially. Yeah, both of my helmets, like my open face helmets and my full face helmets, cannot fit inside. I think if you were to use a half face helmet, the old school half face helmet, no issue with it. And inside the bike, it comes with this owner's manual over here, toolkit, and something unique to European bikes, which is the emergency first aid kit. It's pretty unique because I've never ever seen a motorcycle come with a emergency first aid kit. But I think in India and Italy, where the country is very big, right, medical attention is definitely very far away. So if you get into an accident or whatsoever, this really comes in handy. Over here we have the gas cap and the battery compartment over here, and also there's a USB port under the seat. Pretty interesting. I wish they put it at the handlebar controls instead. Maybe because the storage cubby in front is an open variation, so no way for you to lock your handphone inside, I guess. And also, not to forget, there's also a light at the underseat storage over here, so that at night time it will illuminate for you to search your underseat storage on what you want to find lah. And removing the light and lifting up the underseat storage, you can access the engine for the bike. Pretty small, pretty nifty engine, I must say. Yeah. Engine is easily accessible on the SLX 150, and I think this goes to all Vespas in general. I'm about to return the bike now, and I actually forget to record this part. So here's the horn check for the SLX 150. So to add on, there's also a Kickstarter on the SLX 150. I think it's pretty interesting because most of the modern era Vespas, they don't really have the Kickstarter like the GTS, the Primavera, even the LX also don't have it, and really makes it a breeze when your battery dies or something happens to the bike. Makes it easy to start the bike lah, I guess. So let's talk about the colors and the price. So this particular color that I'm being reviewed right now is the Vespa's Racing 60s. So it comes with this white color and red and gold stripe accent. That is my personal opinion pretty awesome on this bike. And also this badging over here, Racing 60s, and for the regular color it's 5,502. You need to top up $300 more for this Racing 60s. That is just the machine price, by the way, from Unique Motorsports. I've been told by Unique that there is one particular bike they have in stock, which is 14,999 with last month's COE and insurance included. At 5,502 for a Vespa is very cheap at that machine price. Add up with the COE, it can go up to 16k lah. 16k for a Vespa. Ridiculous, guys. It's pretty ridiculous. And Unique Motorsports is providing 12 months warranty for this bike. Down payment of $1 with interest of 3.98 per annum, and a loan duration of up to 7 years.
There's a small learning curve, and you basically need to adapt a little bit to handle the bike lah. But overall, I think the handling is pretty decent, almost on par with other mainstream scooters out there. I'm not sure about other Vespa scooters because I've never ever tried another Vespa scooter. This is actually my first ever official ultimate review on a Vespa. Before I got my license, you know, the only rider friend that I had is actually Zar, and he rode SXL 150, a classic Vespa. And yeah, this has somewhat similar vibes with a square headlamp, the size and everything. And because I was noob about motorcycles at that time, right, the Vespa for a while was actually a dream bike of mine. But now, not so much lah. I'm not that crazy about wanting a Vespa. But it's nice that they still exist, you know, given the brand's rich heritage and history and the contribution it has to pop culture, you know. Since the Vespa brand is heavily associated with that, it's nice that they're still around churning motorcycles. And as you have seen in our Vespa GTS 300 review, Afik's bike, there's the relevant riding technology on it, the TFT display, traction control, ABS. This bike has ABS too, by the way. It's nice that they adapted the current riding technology but still having keep the general shape of the Vespa, which is this monocoque chassis over here. Is it called monocoque chassis? I'm not sure. Okay, so we're gonna get into the highway now and really see how the SLX 150 really performs on the highway. Personally, I think it's decent. It's more than enough for city riding, especially in Singapore where it's all mostly urban roads, heavy traffic everywhere. Lane splitting, no issue at all with the SLX 150 given its smaller size and slimmer profile as opposed to other Vespas, right? But highway riding wise, yeah, pretty decent in my personal opinion. I wouldn't say it's something to shout about, but at 90 kilometers per hour, it doesn't do justice lah. I would suggest that if you want to get the SLX 150, you have to love the Vespa brand itself. It's not a bike for everybody. It's impractical, and the top speed above 90, the bike struggles considerably. So you definitely buy a Vespa because of the emotional attachment that you have to the brand itself and the history and heritage. And yeah, you just want to go riding in style, man. This is what a Vespa is supposed to be. But I think for the SLX 150, for the developing markets, right, they did pretty well with the bike at a price point of like 4,000, 5,000 5,000 plus. I think it's pretty value for money in my personal opinion. Like mainstream Vespas will cost 2k more, like the GTS, the Primavera. And I think if you're looking for a budget Vespa without compromising on the styling, quality, and yeah, it's made in India, you know. Indian made motorcycles have an awesome build quality and reputation to them, and it's from a mainstream manufacturer, and given that Unique brought in this bike, so I think parts wise, maintenance wise, shouldn't be an issue with this bike. And there's also a 1-year warranty from Unique Motorsports, even though it's probably imported, but because of the 1-year warranty, right, I don't think you have anything to worry about lah. And riding it so far, I'm pretty impressed with the SLX 150 in my personal opinion. Once you get used to the handling, you need to worry about the bike being too overpowering and all that. It's a real easily handling bike for the city streets. Just enough power to mitigate through heavy traffic, and the superb handling on this. Oh, it's been a while since I've been to Changi Airport. Oh man, wish you could fly out soon, but then the VTL flights are really expensive. You know, I used to work in the airport and I really missed working here. It has an environment that you cannot really find anywhere else, but only at the airport. But yeah, the shifts are terrible, which is why I quit in the first place. I'm gonna give you guys my final conclusion on the Vespa SLX 150.
So I had like 5 days with the Vespa SLX 150, and this is actually my first time riding and the ultimate review for a Vespa. I've never ridden a Vespa before this. Before I got to know about motorcycles and all that, I actually wanted a Vespa because Zah was riding a Vespa and he's the only biker friend that I know at that time. And riding the Vespa, you know, if you disregard the brand and you just look at it as a normal scooter, I would say that the Vespa is not a practical scooter. Comparing with like the NMAX and the ADV 150, it is leaps and bounds much more practical than the SLX 150 lah, because you know, being a Vespa, it has to conform to a certain design, a certain shape, and also there's not much storage space underneath. And the NMAX and the Aerox actually performs much better than the SLX 150. I would say that the SLX 150's performance is much more closer to the ADV 150 and the PCX. Other than that, it's a typical scooter, just twist and go, no frills, no fuss. Just a simple bike that is meant to make your city commute very easy and practical. I'm telling you guys that there are much more practical scooters out there. But looking at it from a brand perspective, being a Vespa and icon, what it means to the riders all over the world, you know, it's definitely on par with other Vespas. I would feel that this is actually similar to the Vespa LX 150 in terms of the features. Vespa made this scooter for the Indian market, and it's meant to compete with the premium brands over there. But outside of India, outside of developing markets in general, I would say that this is much more budget oriented. I personally think that the SLX 150 is for, you know, riders who love Vespa and who love the history and heritage, and who like that, you know, pop culture status that the Vespa brand is known for. It's $2,000 cheaper than the mainstream Vespa like the GTS, the Primavera, for example. You can consider the SLX 150, given that it's a parallel import for India. From what Unique has told me, the SLX 150, along with the VLX 125 and 150, they're actually using old technology from previous modern era Vespa models, and they made it in India to compete with other premium motorcycles over there. And I think they gained some foothold over there, and right now they are trying to make an overseas presence with development markets for the SLX 150. I think in terms of the high prices of bikes here in Singapore, the SLX 150 is really a huge contender in my personal opinion. There's still the other models like the GTS, the Primavera, the LX. You know, the LX is on production already. You know, riding with it for 3 days, pretty decent scooter in my personal opinion. Really on par with the PCX and the ADV 150 lah. But it comes to the history and heritage and the style of a Vespa, you know? So once again, huge thanks to Unique Motorsports for loaning me the SLX 150 for the review. They're the parallel importer for the SLX 150. You can buy this bike from them, and yeah, they provide 12 months warranty and also attractive loan options lah. And yeah, that's it for the ultimate review, and we will see you in the next one.